Hi guys. So, guess who's working the camera right now? It's the TheMassaCreature! This is fucking sweet, dude. I swear to God. I'm still fucking psyched that I got a chance to hang out with you.
I'm chewing on the Three Musketeers, so forgive me right now.
Yeah. We're just gonna bullshit a little, try and record a bit of our conversations. We've been going back and forth for like 4, 5 fucking hours now. Yeah. And we have not stopped.
Nope.
So it's like, maybe we should actually turn on the camera at some point.
Yeah.
But we were just talking about agnosticism. I was saying, I'm surprised at how liberating it was to realize how vacuous it is to say that you're agnostic about something that's fucking supernatural.
Yeah.
Duh! Fucking duh! If it's supernatural, you don't know if it exists, if it doesn't exist. You don't know anything about it. It's something that operates outside of nature. So of course you don't know. You cannot have anything but beliefs in it. It has to be faith-based, and therefore the admission that you have no knowledge about it is a given.
Yeah, if there were any, strands of evidence for it, it wouldn't be supernatural anymore. It would be natural, because there would be some semblance of it in nature. But since it acts outside of nature, it is by definition supernatural and an unfalsifiable hypothesis. So you have to have faith in it.
Therefore, the idea that you preface your atheism with, I'm agnostic, it doesn't mean anything.
It's just redundant.
Exactly. Yes, that's exactly what it is. It is redundant to say that you are agnostic, whatever has to do with beliefs. Because, at least in the context of something supernatural. Generally, it's redundant to say you're agnostic, period, because just like with atheism, everybody is an atheist about something. Yeah. Everybody is agnostic about things. Period. There are things for both. For everybody, no matter what you believe and no matter what you think. Period.
Yeah.
Everybody is agnostic and everybody is an atheist.
We just go one god further.
Exactly. And because of how utterly fucking ubiquitous it is, it's vacuous in that it is so universal that there is no point in adopting either of them as a label, really. I mean, atheism, all it does is go a step further than the average theist,
Yeah.
We talked about that earlier, how, of course, it's kind of just almost trite at this point with how much it's known, that just the general line of, you're an atheist too, I just believe in one God less than you do.
Yeah, Christians are atheistic about Allah and fucking Odin, Thor, Zeus, whatever, Ares, all those fucking gods of Greek mythology. It's pick one.
Yeah, and I mean, everybody. So at that point, I understand the idea of saying that you aren't atheist in a practical sense. That does make an amount of sense. But at the same time, it's when you actually look at things, it doesn't really say much about you, because it doesn't say anything about what you do believe, I guess.
Yeah.
But at the same time, because everybody is an atheist and because everybody is an agnostic, it goes into the idea of atheism, which is why I take that on as the label.
Or an agnostic.
Or atheist, because that's really what prefaces all this, is you have to define what God you're talking about. Otherwise, everyone's an atheist. Period. And so we have to define the question mark here. The random term God. What does that refer to?
It's just
we have
a variable.
have a well-defined definition for the being that it is that we're trying to debate over, and then once we come up with a coherent definition for that thing, then we can actually establish whether or not you're atheist or whatever. At that point, it makes sense to claim that for that particular thing that we have then defined.
Yeah.
But until then,
Just like, what the fuck do you mean?
it doesn't fucking mean anything.
That's the sound of jazz the argo.
Yeah, actually, there's a picture on Facebook of me in a green fursuit with my trip coat on. Like, does it really exist?
Yeah.
You can't prove that it doesn't.
Children.
Yay.
We are passing to the realm of small
Welcome to
children.
YouTube, dudes.
Why you want to get this on film?
We already did.
Not really.
Why you putting on YouTube?
Because we're awesome possum.
Word. Oh, man. But yeah, I mean, the idea that you identify as an atheist, to me, doesn't make a lot of sense as an atheist because of the fact that there are premises that stand before the idea of atheism versus theism. Is there a God? Is there not a God? That we are not even willing to entertain. And people need to grapple those issues before we even try and get into these unfalsifiable hypotheses and whatnot that honestly in the first place are fucking pointless because of that very fact. So
Yeah, in this day and age, if you identify as an atheist, you're trying to tell someone you don't believe in any God. Because obviously, everyone's going to be atheistic about some God, but if you identify as an atheist, you're saying, I'm not a theist whatsoever. I don't believe in one individual God. And it's just for the sake of communication, you know, for practical reasons.
it's like, it harkens back to the issue that I talked about earlier, that I'm going to be expanding on this in a whole video about the importance of language. I mean, there's a plethora of studies out there that talk about this. There's hundreds, probably thousands of them talking about the relationship between language and thought. Because we do think in language. In fact, every single person on this planet has a form of amnesia for the first 4 some years of their life because they had yet to be able to form coherent thoughts aside from simple feelings and snapshots in their own head, because they could not yet form words to describe those things even to themselves. They could not quantify their own thoughts even to themselves. And that's one of the things that keeps us as humans from being feral, is our language. And in turn, the language that we do use is specifically important. It is paramount that we understand that if we use simplistic language, we will think simplistically.
Yeah.
And I'm going to be going into that with the whole thing talking about the idea of love. And say as an example, the connection between, how the word fuck, in its versatility, makes it more or less meaningless, or at the very least significantly diminishes its meaning by virtue of the fact that it can be every word in a sentence. It doesn't just mean coitus. It doesn't just mean having intercourse with someone. It doesn't just mean, I fuck the tree. It doesn't mean that shit. It means anything. And at this point, as Lewis Black so eloquently put it, in New York, fuck is a comma. It is an exclamation point put in the middle of the sentence instead of being put at the end. And aside from that, it can even be put in the middle of a fucking word. And in turn, its use is diminished its actual meaning is diminished.
Like,
it
a
has
fucking
usefulness.
part. A fucking long.
It's good for the purposes of expression in your language, but so far as its own individual meaning, that meaning is diminished. It does not have a deep, nuanced meaning. And in the same way, the same is true for the word love in our society, with American English, because we have one word for this emotion, love. The Japanese have 16 words for it, and some languages have hundreds of words for it, and someone actually mentioned, as a result of my interdependence video, because people were saying I was too verbose in that video, realized that, well, if I had said that shit in French, I'd be able to say it in half as many words. Why? Because it's a Romance language. It's not a sister language to a barbaric language like German, and it has a lot of history to it, and in turn, you can be much more concise because of the nuances that go into the respective terms. It's not about an issue of requiring less language, not needing to know as many words. It's about not being required to use so many words in order to express an idea that is equally complex.
Yeah.
And so, language is really fucking important. And in turn, the idea that we adopt labels that are fallacious in basis, like, okay, Obama is black. He has a black and a white mom. Take your pick on which he is, but everyone calls him black. Why? What is this, Jim Crow South, where you got even a drop of nigger blood in you, then you're a nigger? Sorry, no. That is a bullshit, archaic way of looking at things, yet it is the label that we adopt. It is the label that we accept as being appropriate for his race. It is something that is just a colloquial term that is accepted as not being too simplistic to describe him accurately, when in fact that is fucking bullshit. Because he's half black, half white. He could be both. Yet we arbitrarily choose one term instead of the other. There's nobody on this planet who is actually straight. There's nobody on this planet that is actually gay. 100% either way. Everybody, okay, barring extreme examples, because there are extreme examples, but generally, almost everybody on this planet falls within the standard deviation on the bell curve of life. And in turn, you can't say that someone is just straight or gay. Right there, that's a disambiguation of the idea of sex and romance, which are separate from each other, and the idea that we conflate them, that alone stunts our ability to even have a conversation about this shit.
Yeah, you can be romantic and not be sexual, and you can be sexual without being romantic.
Well, yeah, like I put it to you earlier. Asexuality has highlighted this for me. Because an asexual, they have no instinctual desire for sex, yet there is a conception by which they basically look at their sexuality as, or they look at romanticism as a type of sexuality. Hetero-romantic, homo-romantic, aromantic, depending on the types of sex of people that they are interested in being romantic with. But at the same time, that isn't something that is specific to asexuality. That is something that is just highlighted by the fact that asexuals do not require terms of sexuality to describe themselves because they fall outside of the spectrum of sexuality itself by not really being sexual. But it doesn't mean that that's just something that's highlighted because, well, they have to adapt to that situation somehow. No, it just highlights something that's always there. It's a concept that's just below the surface when it comes to us talking about sexuality. But we conflate the idea of being homosexual and homo-romantic. We conflate the idea of being heterosexual and hetero-romantic because in our society, the only term for love is love. What does that mean? If I say, I love you.
It can mean many things.
Am I talking about my girlfriend, my mother, my dog? It has several different meanings depending on the context. Yep.
Oh, God. He loves that shit. Oh, yeah. He wants to marry it.
Yeah. I so do. I want to put a ring around the thing. And I'm just going to keep this can forever. No. I mean, yeah, you say I love McDonald's. What does that mean? Does it mean I want to date the franchise? Does it mean I want to stick my dick in the fries? Does it mean that I want
the fries in you?
Does it mean I want to fuck Ronald McDonald? Does it mean I want to wine and dine this? No! It means I like the food at the fucking restaurant.
Yeah, it can mean enjoyment, it can mean fascination, or it could mean a life devotion where you say, I don't want to be with anyone else in the world but you for the rest of my life, which I construe to be true love, which is, really, hard to do, unless, you actually find someone who you have, so much in common with, or you don't even want any other options. Yeah. You say, I'm content with you, and everyone else is just, so beyond my desires that you are just the epitome of everything I could ever want and need.
I mean, and we have one term for it. We have one term, love. That's it. We don't have another word that really describes that emotion. We don't have a lot of different terms for it. And in turn, term itself is reductionary in its simplicity because it is so individual. It's so individual in its ability
It's relative.
to explain and denote this type of emotion, you know? I mean, okay, if I say I love you, TheMassaCreature, what does that mean? That means...
It means you want to bone me.
No, it doesn't, god damn it! You falling prey to the societal paradigms that I rail against! No,
I know, right?
exactly. If I say I love a friend, does that mean I want to bone him?
Yes.
No! No!
You want to bone everything that you love, of course.
Absolutely. I mean, I don't know. Well, I am a furry, so obviously I want to bone my dog because I love him.
Yeah, fuck stereotypes.
Fuck all that shit. It's, again...
Fucking repugnant piles of pusillanimous shit.
The idea that we can even misconstrue that to mean so many different things. I'm sorry, but the versatility of a term does not make it better. George Orwell put it best in his book 1984, where the government was controlling thought by virtue of controlling the language. And we all know, those of us who have read the book, that the point of Newspeak was to be reductionary in the ability to express differing ideas and to actually compare and contrast things that were good and bad and whatnot, so that everything the government did was great, more or less. And the same thing applies when it comes to a term that is as versatile as something like love. The word fuck, it doesn't matter, it's just a fucking expletive. But with an idea like love, that's goddamn important! This is something that is foundational to so many goddamn issues we talk about. Issues of the day, sexuality, and things of that nature. Yet we conflate sex and love. We assume that, okay, people have been commenting on some of my videos, like my recent video about gender. A homosexual commented that they feel physically and emotionally attracted to people of the same sex. Yet, they still recognize that they can feel emotional attachment and attraction to people of the opposite sex, because there is a difference. And our society conflates the ideas, and because of that, it stunts our ability to even discuss the topics at hand. And this is especially important when they are topics that are so important to so many people as topics of the day or whatever, you know? Shit that's always going on in the news, political issues, gay marriage, shit like that. People asking me in my questions and answers video about my opinion about consensual incest. It shouldn't even be a fucking issue.
People are just disturbed by things that are different. It's like, oh my god, brothers and sisters, fucking. What's good, bitches? Yep. My shoe is fucking untied. And my arm was like really falling off because I was doing this for like ever.
I noticed.
What's good, bro, huh?
But yeah. For fuck's sake. I mean, yeah, I just need to go off on that kind of shit, you know? Like, the fact that there's basically a warfare going on with, like, the gay community and language, because gays in recent years have been trying to reclaim the word queer, because it's been used pejoratively against them. And in turn, they're trying to reclaim it. Same thing for words like gay. Now gay, as a form of language warfare, gay now means bad things. So gay, you're so gay.
Yeah, I mean, that kind of terminology just kind of evolves over time. Like before, like it was like square. Like, oh my god, you're such a square, or lame. Oh my god, you're so lame. And now it went from like square to lame to gay, and in another generation it'll be some other fucking thing. And everyone just says, oh my god, that's an insult to gay people. No, it's not. Because it has different meanings. It could mean dumb or stupid, homosexual, or fucking happy.
Well, the issue when it comes to the use of the word gay and it being used pejoratively is the fact that it is a dehumanization of the people that it is originally meant to refer to. It's a dehumanization in the same way that, you know, soldiers, when they go to war, they start calling Middle Eastern people ragheads and hajis and whatever. They're not a human, they're a haji. It's a dehumanization. The best way to actually start warfare against an enemy, especially in conception, is by degrading them in language, by dehumanizing them.
Just like some people dehumanize pedophiles or people who we judge to be pedophiles. Like some 30-year-old dude who dates like an 18-year-old. It's not anything that can construe to being pedophilic. Well, if it's, 18, not a fucking child. But even if you are like a legitimate pedophile, it doesn't mean that you are a child molester. Like he was saying, that people are just legitimately attracted to minors. Like when I was 14, I was attracted to people around my age group. And, by Dr. Phil's logic, he says that children or minors cannot give consent to sex. I lost my virginity when I was 14 to a 15-year-old. By his logic, we raped each other.
It makes no fucking sense whatsoever. We all know, those of us who are actually honest with ourselves, sorry if you're not, but we are, the fact is that it is normal to be attracted to a 16-year-old who is fucking attractive.
Yeah.
Duh! People always say that, like, even SXE Phil all the time is talking about how, well, there's this hot 16, 17-year-old, but, we're going to specifically not, we're going to call it creepy that we find her attractive. We're going to constantly talk about how she's attractive. We're going to imply that she's attractive. We're going to allude to the fact that she is attractive, but we are going to also constantly caveat with the idea that, oh my God, I'm being a little creepy right now because I'm stating a fact, a generality rather, as far as people's opinion of her appearance. Does that make it, what? That's normal then at that point. So why are people saying that, oh, you shouldn't think that way? People are saying that, again, the disambiguation of language. The fact that there's a conflation of the term pedophile with child molester, especially in the media, dehumanizes non-offending pedophiles who have done nothing the fuck wrong. And so, that's one of the reasons I rail against that kind of thing. Basically, I'm going to be getting to a root issue when it comes to a lot of the shit that I talk about on my channel. Hopefully I'll be able to actually expand on all this stuff and make it make a lot more sense,
Yeah.
I need to write up a few scripts about this shit.
Yeah, that's why we gotta record our rants so that we can actually build upon them and make notes and shit.
Yeah, I've been doing that a lot with Bobo. We're bullshitting on Skype and just take 30 minutes of a conversation and start recording it. And again, it just pisses me off that I'll be in the middle of a fucking tirade and I can't actually record it, because if I did, then it would diminish the emotion that goes into the tirade in the first place and makes it so that it's not, as, well, it's not as real, quite honestly. That's about the best way to put it.
We can always have like a legitimate emotional input, even if someone is recording ourselves talking. Even like right now, it's like, I know that someone is like watching me right now. Well, literally not right now, but when the shit will be uploaded,
Yeah.
Someone will be, and it doesn't diminish my emotion whatsoever, because I want people to see me with a strong emotional response to what I'm saying, because I like being passionate about what the fuck I'm saying.
Because, oh God forbid, you actually give a fuck about what you care about, what you think about, what you think is important. How the fuck are you supposed to not think that's important?
Yeah, it's like, I hate it when people say, oh my God, you're taking these things way too seriously. Like, oh my God, it's not that big of a deal. Well, geez, let's just all be apathetic and indifferent about everything we think about, and we'll have so much progress because of our indifference and apathy.
Sorry. Cynicism, apathy, these things are self-fulfilling prophecies.
You have no power.
You have no power. None! Bullshit.
What?
Bullshit. Bullshit, 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 bullshit.
I'm just dust in the wind. I have no influence over anyone. Even
Except
if
for
I
all
have
the
1,000 subscribers, people who want to like stand at my window while I fucking shout into a megaphone, that's not an accomplishment. That's not affecting one person who could potentially affect 1 million more, who could potentially affect millions of other people. Jeez, that's not an accomplishment. Of
Now
course
where-
it is.
Now where
If
have I
you
heard that
touch
before?
one life, the world might become a better place to be. That's why I take passion in doing what I do and having a YouTube channel. Because, you know, it goes back to people losing motivation on YouTube. You know, because I was watching his video and like people say, well, you know what, I don't get like the amount of feedback that I want. It's not the quantity, it's the quality. If someone actually tells me that I've inspired them or I affected them in some way, you know, I feel honored and I feel like I actually made a difference and my thoughts were not in vain. So it's not about the quantity, about like the amount of subscribers. Even if one person says, wow, I actually give a fuck about what you have to say, you actually help me articulate the things that I have in my own mind because I couldn't do it on my own, then I'm like, wow, okay, so I guess I do have some purpose in my life. I actually am worth something.
You know, and this is something that I've been talking about when, like, Paul's ego, as a perfect example. All the time, he talks about how he feels like he's just another dumb fat ass commenting from his status of abject luxury in our society, and I understand that way of looking at things, I really do. But the fact is that regardless of your status in life, it does not in any way diminish the importance of your thoughts, and it does not in any way diminish your expression. I don't care if other people have already said this shit a million times before.
That might be unoriginal to someone who hasn't even heard it before.
Exactly. It's like, I don't give a fuck if Christopher Hitchens said a million things that I've said a million times better, several times over before I ever had a chance to even think about these things. That does not diminish my expression of the ideas. That does not diminish the substance of the ideas themselves just because I happen to express them my way as opposed to the way he did. It's one of the reasons why I like quoting people, because I do prefer to actually say, you know, this person said it better before I did, so I may as well say it the way they did.
Because you actually give enough of a fuck about their legacy to try and spread it yourself. Because you're like, wow, this is good shit. I want to help contribute and help other people hear it too. Because like George Carlin, he's fucking dead, so he can't do it anymore. So you take his words, his legacy, and you're like, okay, this, and that, and that, and that. And so he can kind of live on, even though, you know, he's fucking dead.
And again, the point comes back to the fact that it has been expressed before by other people in no way diminishes your own expression of the ideas, your own feelings, and it especially does not diminish the effect that you have on other people who haven't yet heard the ideas and who are affected by your way of putting things, or to whom you have expressed ideas and feelings that they themselves have had for a very long time and have not been able to articulate themselves. They now have better ammunition in their own vernacular by virtue of having listened to you to be able to express themselves and to be able to get their own ideas out to other people and communicate better with other people. And I don't get how that can't be validating just because of your status in the fucking, you know, in the grand scheme of the world. I don't see it that way. But this thing's about to die for battery after a full half-hour clip. Jesus. Again, this is just a half hour out of 5 hours of bullshit. So.
And I still got my camera if we want to continue to expand on this while we're still on the walk.
So I believe this is the time for the taglines.
Tagline?
What is it that you say at the end of your videos?
I say stick to your guns and nice road path.
Long days and pleasant nights.